prophet or anything. I just am I am a very good student of history. So let's continue with the story, shall we? Mindy sits up in her bed and shouts, "My God, war is imminent? When did this happen?" Sounds like a lot of people that have their heads buried in the sand, doesn't it? Supreme Commander Savage answers her sharply. "Since those assholes lying dead on our living room floor tried to kill us last night." Is that what it's going to take for you, the average American, to wake up, is when there's a bunch of dead people lying on your living room floor because you had to get in a firefight with a bunch of communists? Okay. Mindy gets out of bed and follows her father down the stairs, soon to be joined by Jennifer. They look at the aftermath of last night's attack and fight down the chill of terror. Meanwhile, the clock continues to tick down to the real time bomb that is about to explode, forever shaping the future of the galaxy. Okay, and here it goes. Inauguration Day, 1400 hours. Eastern Standard Time, 2400 hours Galactic Time. Final preparations. Van Buren. And those of you who don't know who Van Buren is, he is the sicko in the story. He is the villain. Okay? Now I will go back periodically through these segments and read excerpts from Van Buren, because this guy is like Cass Sunstein, Barack Obama, Adolf Hitler, Joseph Stalin, Pol Pot, and everybody like that wrapped up into one character. In other words, devil incarnate. Van Buren sits at his oak desk in his lavish office looking at all of the security monitors on the wall above his new black marble mantelpiece. All of a sudden, the intercom on his desk comes to life. It's Lieutenant Bradford of Intelligence. "Marshal Van Buren, are you ready for the final preparation meeting?" Van Buren looks at the monitor on the desk and replies, "Yes, I've been ready for the past 2 hours, Bradford. Now I will be down in the secure conference room in a few minutes." "Of course, sir," he replies nervously. I'm sorry I disturbed you, sir." Marshal Van Buren tightens his tie, puts on his dress black jacket, heading for the door. He briskly walks down the catwalk towards the elevators as men and women in the command centers continue working. He steps into the elevator and hits the LL button. The elevator descends deep below the Iron Claw headquarters building. The doors open, and he walks into another, more heavily secured command center. He enters a key code on the door, swipes his ID badge, and the door slides open. Now below him is a huge room that has galactic charts and an operational displays for various command arenas within the expanse of space. Hundreds of loyal intelligence analysts, navigators, scientists, and soldiers continue working below, unaware of the grave dangers posed to them by Van Buren's command. He walks down the catwalk, far above their heads, to another set of doors. He enters a different code and steps inside the secure conference room. Inside, head general of the shock troopers, the head general of the elite guard, the head general of the regular army, and the head general of the Air and Space Force, Admiral Bernhardt. The men and women snap to attention as he enters the room. He salutes them and says, "Ladies and gentlemen, at ease. Please sit down." They all sit in their chairs. Marshal Van Buren paces back and forth across the floor, appearing edgy and irritated. He studies them all. "Now, this is our final meeting," he says. before we initiate the final stages of Operation 68317. Time is of the essence. The Chancellor will not tolerate failure, and neither will I. We have exactly 45 minutes to be ready. General Winters, have you completely mobilized the shock trooper brigades? General Winters stands up, turns the holographic display, and she begins to show where her forces are located and replies, Sir, I have ordered my personnel to begin mobilization this morning. I have 2 divisions already within the city limits of Washington, D.C. that are ready to overrun the Capitol and the White Palace. I have several others primed for civilian roundup. Now, this comes into what I was talking about before with Phase 3. Remember? We're kind of doing that phase of reality versus fiction. Okay? Reality versus fiction. Now, this is fiction I'm writing about here, and I'm reading from. Compare it to the headlines of today and what's going on now. Okay? For those of you who are wondering. I have 7 divisions moving in on LA, Denver, Las Vegas, Toronto, Seattle, and San Francisco. I have already given them the order to surround the cities and wait for further commands. The rest of my people are taking positions in Europe, South America, and Asia. They will succeed on their objectives, sir. Van Buren smiles and says, very good. Make sure they are poised for action in 40 minutes. Winters closes her briefcase and replies, yes, sir. Van Buren looks over to General Schultz, the head of the elite guard, and signals for him to begin. General Schultz clears his throat, adjusts his eye patch, and begins to speak slowly and solemnly. Sir, my men and women are ready to attack all the military installations on Earth. They have seized barracks, hangars with no resistance, and are standing by on the ground. Men await your command up on the fleet docks as well. General Winters has also placed 7 full platoons of shock troops to assist when the operation gets underway. My secret police will also assist in civilian processing and extermination. Again, I'm taking, this is fiction, folks. I'm taking this out of the history books, and I'm writing it in fiction, and you know what is crazy about this story is I'm seeing it being played out. Now, I see a lot of you have dropped off. What, is it scaring you? What, are you friggin' scared? Now, I know I don't normally do a show like this, but I figured why not? This is kind of one of those deals where I'm going to do a show like this, okay? And throw in a little fiction with reality. Okay. We just have one problem. Marshal Van Buren looks at him disgusted and says, yes. General Schultz adjusts his necktie because he is beginning to feel nervous and he fears Van Buren. He clears his throat and replies, still speaking gravely with passionate force. One of the snipers, Sergeant Lee Turner, was found dead this afternoon. We need to find a second sniper for the inauguration. Van Buren snaps at him and screams, I'll friggin' do it. How the frick did he die? General Schultz shakes his head. He was killed, sir. He accidentally lost his footing scaling the side of the building. It took a full hour to identify him. Van Buren fumes, pacing around the room, and shouts, incompetent fool. I knew I should have taken that post. Oh well, it's mine now. General Schultz nervously takes his seat. Yes, sir, I agree, and it won't happen again. It better not. Next, General Ivan Bates stands up to point at the holographic display. displaying troop movements. He begins calmly going over the strategy. My men and women, he says, are already deployed. We have heavy artillery and hovering armored columns ready to besiege target areas. I've given my troops the order to kill all those who stand in our way. Van Buren stops in the center of the room, lighting up another Cuban cigar. Excellent. Have you prepared the POW camps and the re-education camps on the outskirts of the cities? General Bates looks at him from the spot on his table and says, yes, sir, we have. Marshal Van Buren watches Bates intently. Have you been able to locate the enemy troop emplacements? He shrugs and shakes his head. In reply, no, sir, he admits. The UFG army is not even putting up any resistance. As a matter of fact, they have not engaged us at all. Marshal Van Buren smiles with a dark, sinister smile and says, well then, they will be in for a hell of a surprise. Thank you, General. Admiral Bernhardt, have you prepared the air assault squads and the fleet for deployment? Have you prepared to launch the warheads loaded with Zedekiah nerve gas on their designated targets? Admiral Bernhardt stands up from the spot on his table and says, yes, sir. Everything is in order. The weapons are primed to hit Chicago, Dallas, Houston, Miami, Boston, London, New York, Berlin, Moscow, LA, Tokyo, Singapore, and Hong Kong. Once they hit, we will take the fight right out of the democracy. The fleet is still not fully operational. We are still overhauling the ships in the Third Fleet, and half of the ships in the Fourth Fleet are pursuing the cowards that are running to the Outer Rim. We are just starting the construction of the 14th Fleet and the 17th Fleet. The UFG has control over the 1st, 2nd, 3rd, and part of the 3rd, and 4th, and 5th. I've noted that the Zedekiah warlord have his ships engage and destroy them if they try to escape. The Marauders have also been notified, and they will assist in hunting them down if they run. Marshal Van Buren looks at his watch and says, well, ladies and gentlemen, it is 15:15. We need to get going. You are dismissed. Carry out your assignments without fail, or you will pay the price. All of them salute their Grand Marshal, exiting the room. Van Buren walks down the catwalk to a flight of stairs and heads down the command and control center. He approaches a sergeant and sits down next to her. Sergeant, he says, get me commander of the 7th Mountain Shock Brigade. Female sergeant flicks a couple switches, connecting him directly to the comlink, and says, yes, sir. She keys in the frequency and begins to speak. Ace in the hole. This is Ironclaw. Do you copy? A voice on the other end of the comlink replies, go ahead, Ironclaw. Marshal Van Buren needs to speak with your CO. Over, she says. Copy that. Stand by. Female sergeant hands Van Buren her headphones and allows him to sit at her station. Colonel Franks is on the other end of the comlink, and he is quite busy. His unit is preparing for today's events, and he is irritated for all the work they have still left to do, and he patiently replies, yes, this is Colonel Franks. Okay, so, very interesting story. It looks like I dropped some of you off. That's okay. Gaining some back, dropping some off. I think I'm going to leave it at that. Let your imaginations kind of run wild with it. Because what we're seeing is fiction actually becoming reality. Every great epic kind of thing that we have seen in our lifetimes on film, whether it be Star Wars, whether it be Lord of the Rings, whether it be something of that nature, is starting to play out now. you are starting to see, and it is